So welcome to our introductory webinar on our School of Political Forecasting. I would like to start off with some information on our organization. For those of us who don't know us, we are the International Center for Eastern Europe Research. We were founded in 2008, and we are an independent nonprofit think tank. We specialize in consulting, analysis, political as well as economic, and conflict mediation. One of the longest ongoing projects is a series of meditative meetings on the conflict in the Karabakh region. We have on 8 occasions invited government representatives of both sides, Armenia and Azerbaijan, to come to Vienna and discuss possible solutions and compromises for lasting peace in the region. These events were conducted in cooperation with the Austrian Ministries of Defense and Foreign Affairs. In general, we work with a large international network of experts, and thus we had the idea to use this collective intelligence and launched our School of Political Forecasting. So to get back on topic, our first semester, which will begin on February 10th, will consist of 30 lectures and 2 workshops. And as a focus, we will have the war in Ukraine, a sadly real-life example, which we will use to convey an in-depth understanding of and the tools for political forecasting. We have employed 13 of our eminent experts to hold these lectures. The classes in English will take place on Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and consist of a 45-minute lecture followed by a round of questions. There's also a Russian course. These classes will take place on Tuesdays and Thursdays, also at 6 p.m. Graduates will receive a certificate. And the graduation ceremony will be attended by a representative of the Austrian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which also supports our program. That's enough from the information side. I will now hand over to the Vice President of ICAR, Professor Hans-Georg Heinrich, to introduce you to political forecasting.
Hello, good evening, and welcome. As you can see from my physical appearance, I'm emeritus professor. I'm emeritus professor of political science, but I'm still alive and kicking. I'm truthfully delighted for this opportunity to share with you a few thoughts on a few considerations on political forecasting. As a postscript, I would like to say a few words about our program and about all the friends who have helped us to establish this unique undertaking. And there's one personality that I would like to star here. Max has, out of modesty, not mentioned the most important personality who is in the center of our school and of our program. Max is not only the manager of the whole thing, but he's also the technical supervisor, and he's doing all necessary work, and I can assure you this is the hard part. It is 24/7 struggle against Murphy's Law. You will be familiar with this thing. Everything that goes wrong will go wrong. What I would like to briefly add is, why did we select Ukraine as a topic for this semester? This is almost a moot question. During the first semester, we can expect to see important developments and decisions concerning the war in Ukraine. As has been mentioned, we have assembled the most eminent experts to analyze various aspects of the topic, to comment current events as they evolve and to make forecasts, if you will, in real time. That is, we can feel to be smack right in the center of history. So our group, our experts, the people who do the technical work, we're all dialed in to give you a lifetime experience. Why Ukraine? This is one thing. The other thing is, why did we choose political forecasting as a topic? The opening of our school comes not only as far as Ukraine is concerned, but generally at a defining moment. For one thing, as you all know, strong political wrecking balls try to destroy the traditional world order. Unexpected pandemics have rocked societies trusting in scientific finding. The war has come back, not only in distant regions, but right in the center of Europe. There's a general feeling that security is lost and disasters can happen at any moment. And that makes people flock to leaders who promise instant solutions for complex problems. People want security and no uncertain future. This gives rise to the question, to what degree can we be sure of our future? Can we predict? Can we forecast or make prophecies? Now, I've selected one example from a US comic series called Johnny Bravo. And this thing really looks like 100% prediction was published a few days before 9/11. There's similar comics, for instance, The Simpsons are also published a few weeks before the event. So can people really foresee the future? Now, in this case, I think we should be cautious. Of course, people cannot and we cannot foresee our future. But as a tentative explanation, the topic of a terrorist attack was very present after 1993. On the one hand, and on the other hand, the Twin Towers are a very good target. Why did I mention 1993? You might remember that two terrorists, Ramzi Youssef and Eva Ismail, placed a gas-enhanced bomb, a device that they detonated at the World Trade Center, with the intent of sending the North Tower crashing into the South Tower, thus bringing both towers down and killing tens of thousands of people. Again, in vengeance of America's support for Israel against Palestine. It failed to do so, but killed 6 people and injured over 1,000. I might mention also that terrorist attacks had happened frequently in the US. Some of you might recall Timothy McVeigh's attack in Oklahoma, 1995. So there's a lot of reasons to not to believe that prophecies are possible. Okay, now I would like to deal with the subject of gut feelings. Says here, embracing your gut feelings might actually help you to make more logical choices. This might seem a little strange in the first place. Gut feeling has a bad reputation, especially in the Western part of our world, where factually since Enlightenment began, many people have come to think that the human race has progressed from relying on primitive, magical, and religious thinking to analytic and scientific thinking. As a result, emotions and intuitions are seen as fallible, even whimsical, not good. However, this attitude is based on the myth of cognitive progress. Emotions are actually not dumb responses that always need to be ignored or even corrected by rational faculties. They are appraisals of what you've just experienced or thought of. In this sense, they're a form of information processing, and even more, scientists have called these processes predictive processing frameworks. The point is that nowadays we know that brain and gut cooperate to find optimal solutions. We are therefore talking about a survival mechanism which is hardwired in our bodies. Gut feeling is painful if unconscious. It has to be supported by learning. An 80-year-old, for instance, has collected at least 500,000 hours of experience, 500,000 hours of information, and also reaction patterns. We have, for instance, or most of us have, learned to compare quantities more or less intuitively. An illiterate shepherd who has a flock of, say, 300 sheep knows the exact number of flock members at first glance. If one sheep is missing, he can tell you something's wrong. By the way, they probably experienced shepherds know every sheep by name. Teachers recognize immediately when one pupil is missing, also in large classes. Also, we can, at least to a certain degree, handle probabilities. We can feel that extremely unlikely events have not happened by chance. For instance, the two airplanes that in 9/11 hit the Twin Towers on the same day. This is extremely unlikely. We know that. Or another example, does it happen that identical lottery draws follow each other in a row, one day, the other day, identical? This becomes explainable by the fact that there are thousands of draws every year in most countries. So the number of possibilities is so high that it is actually probable that such a thing happens. Math. It has all of us given headaches. Me too. I've always struggled with math. Although I came to like it only after school, when there was less pressure. Now I would like to confront you with an unsettling thought. I will try to show that certain aspects of math are a part of our daily life. If you will, they're part of our gut feeling. You might not realize that, but hundreds of predictions are made every day. They are based on experience. You might call this the a priori experience. An example would be everybody, or most of us, will get up in the morning. Okay. That's already a yes and no decision. Will we get up? Do we have to go to work? Is it Sunday? Do we want to go to church to listen to the service? Yes and no. If you're late, if you have to be at work at a certain time, should you follow routines? Brushing your teeth, taking a shower and all this, taking breakfast? Yes and no. What are the consequences of doing this or that? Will the boss grumble? Or will it react in a different way, in a way you don't like? Or do you notice the boss is absent and you can be late? Nobody's going to say a word. Public transport, if you're late, should you take the car? Should you take public transport? Or should you pay a taxi to go to work? Another example from everyday life. You have an appointment with a friend, okay? You know that this friend, he or she, will be, as a rule, absolutely at time at the meeting place. But on this specific day, there is a traffic congestion in the vicinity of the meeting place. And now you have to, again, make a decision. Should you expect that your friend will arrive in time, or should you calculate some extra time for him or her to arrive? This is a yes and no decision. And more or less instinctively, you will assign probabilities to the various outcomes. And this is the meaning of the sentence you find here. We're all Bayesians. Bayes, as some of you might know, was an English cleric in the 18th century who was actually trying to prove the existence of God with his formula. The formula is about probabilities, and it follows exactly our inner math, our what happens in daily life. You have an armory, a learned armory of information stored wherever in your brain, in your guts, the so-called a priori, and then you make a new observation. The new observation, says this formula, is apt to correct your previous beliefs. This is exactly what is happening. And in forecasting, you can use exactly this formula, which I will present in my full lectures in full detail. I would like to add that most predictions are wrong, especially those made by academics. You can do the same thing by just tossing a coin. But the point is, we should be trying to be less wrong. We should be trying to think in scenarios and in probabilities. Now I would like to briefly present the main tool from our toolbox. It is a program that is built on the Bayesian foundations. and it is widely used, especially in the sciences, in medicine, in engineering, and God knows where. We can also, of course, use it because the type of reasoning, the algorithm is the same, applied to politics, applied to sociology, applied in any field you might think. I have selected this very simple example because I have the real numbers. This is not a thought-up example, but you can easily, it is used in medical research, for instance. I'll briefly show you how it works. The question is, if you have a positive test result, and you've taken a test on the incidence of breast cancer, okay? So what is the probability of having breast cancer given a positive test result? This is purely Bayesian. We know the incidence, the general incidence of breast cancer in women of a certain age class and other circumstances. This is the a priori, and you make a new observation. We have a positive test. What do you think the probability of having breast cancer in reality is? Let's see. Okay. It is 46%. Most people would think, as the accuracy of the test is relatively high, the probability of having breast cancer would be as high as the accuracy. This is not the case because cancer is relatively rare and there are false positives. This leads to this result, and the doctor will probably tell you, take another test, then you will be more or less sure. So, people, to find out more about this and about forecasting, about political forecasting, don't hesitate to sign up. Thank you.